Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on what coast you're on. Thank you so much for joining us for our new AI, introducing Opie AI, Office Practicum's new AI assistant. So we appreciate you all being here, and we're excited to share with you all of our brand new functionality. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's get to the next slide here. So we have some quick housekeeping items. All attendees will be muted during this webinar. If you have a question, please drop it into the questions box of the GoToWebinar panel. We will be holding most questions till the end. We may be answering a few as we go. You will be receiving a recording of this webinar in your email along with the deck. So what's the agenda going to be? OPI's AI technology is here. So today we're going to be discussing what an AI scribe really is, how ambient AI is changing documentation and what ambient AI means, why OP solution is unique to pediatrics, how we're going to help reduce burnout and re-energize providers, what's coming next in 2025 and beyond. You're going to get to see a live demo of OPI AI, and we're going to tell you how to get started today. So I'm going to introduce you to all the folks that are going to be on today. I'm Pamela Chapman. I'm the Director of Regulatory and Clinical Affairs at Office Practicum. You all know Dr. Dan Fighton, our Chief Medical Officer at Office Practicum, Dr. Rich Zabo, who's the cross-functional physician liaison at Office Practicum. He and I will be doing the demo today. He'll be doing the most brilliant part, and I'll just be kind of a sidekick. Gretch Ellis, who's our Chief Product Officer, Mark Richards, our Chief Revenue Officer, Jay Malsoni, who's the co-founder and CEO of Insight Health, who's our partner, and also Saran will be here with us, who's the co-founder and CTO of Insight Health. So welcome everyone. These will all be your panelists and hosts today, and you'll see them again toward the end when we do our Q&A. So welcome everybody. Thanks for being here with us today. So at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Dr. Dan Fighton, who's going to talk to you all about OPI and AI in general. So thanks a lot, Dr. Dan, for being here with us today.
You bet. Thank you, Pamela, and welcome everyone. Over the last year, we have received lots of comments from those of you who have been using an ambient AI scribe, telling us about how this has literally been transformative, a game changer, life-changing, etc. And we've been looking at it for almost a year now and looking at how we might be able to best serve you with this technology. I want to share with you first, before we get into the AI scribe, that there is a much bigger picture here, a much bigger strategy. And what we have put together is the OPI AI assistant, which you will hear about in the coming months and probably over the next couple of years. It is the engine that will power many of our AI initiatives in the near and distant future. It is there to help us find better ways to help you operate your practice, to operate our business, to train your staff, to train our staff, to provide better releases, fewer bugs, etc. There are lots of opportunities with AI. So what we want to do is we want to bring back that joy in pediatrics. We want to give you experiences that frankly are transformative. And you'll hear more about the larger picture of the OPI AI assistant in the future. Next slide. So let's talk about the ambient AI scribe. Some of you have already had human scribes in your office, and I think you already know that the ambient AI scribes that have come out are far cheaper and certainly more thorough in their note-taking. Ambient, which just simply means it is listening in the background. Ambient AI scribe transcribes the conversation between you and the parent and the patient, being able to block out some of the children's noises and even some crying, etc. And it will be able to give you an HPI, review of systems, physical exam, and down the road, we will continue to perfect the diagnosis and the plan, etc., as you become part of this process. The benefits have been significant for clinicians. As I said, they've described it as being transformative. It is providing more time with your patient. There is less stress, less burnout. And I think what I like the most and what I read in the studies that have been done is that it dramatically reduces pajama time. There are still challenges. Obviously, we have skepticism from parents and from clinicians. The accuracy, while it is quite good, it is going to get better the more that thousands of pediatricians use it in our system. We'll be integrating it with the EHR over the upcoming 6 to 12 months. We hope to have that done toward the end of the year. There will be more about that in just a minute. And there's an opportunity for us to use it to train new clinicians, et cetera, who might have been used to, or at least they've been raised with a phone in their hand, and they might have an over-reliance not only on Google, but also on AI. So, next slide. I'd like you to think about AI as being a student and will be the professor. The student, the large language model, which is the application that generates these long conversations, HPIs, review systems, and so forth, most of them have been made for the entire population. They are learning from an entire university of information, if you will. And since 80% of our population in the United States are adults, there is a risk for bias. There is poor recognition of some of those nuances of pediatrics. We like to think that Opie is majoring in pediatrics, is learning all of the information it can about pediatrics. It is learning it from our OP documents, from our experience, from our data, and eventually, over time, it will continue to grow and improve as thousands of pediatricians use it. But there is also a significant opportunity as we use this in a closed system to identify benchmarks. What are the standards of care in the OP community? What are some of the pediatric guidelines that we need to install into this system as they come out in order to keep you updated and informed? And the system will then be able to prompt you, whether it's your new nurse practitioner or your gray-haired pediatrician who may have forgotten some things, or just you who need an update about something. It will prompt you with some reminders and things that you need to think about. Next slide. I would urge you to also think about yourself as the trainer of your own personal OPI AI. In other words, you are essentially the personal trainer of your OPI AI, because OPI is not going to be able to recognize nonverbal responses or cues, head nods, the silent adolescent, etc. It also is not going to be able to write a physical exam if you don't describe it. Some of our users of the system have already said that they've not been used to talking about their exam while they examine the patient. So it takes some retraining. Finally, your initial version of OPI AI will reflect how others wanted it to perform. So you might find in the first 3 weeks, 6 weeks, it depends on what your style is, you may find that you have to train it. You may have to use words that you want it to use, etc. In the end, you are ultimately responsible for the final note. You are in the driver's seat. You are responsible for that note and that outcome. Next slide. So we have a little poll for you. Like you to pull out your mouse or your touchpad or whatever, and we're going to give you about 30 seconds to answer this. And we want to get your comments on Do you or your providers currently use an AI scribe? So start clicking away. Again, first impressions are just fine. While you're filling it out, I will tell you that we have already had more than 15 OP clinicians using the system over the last couple of weeks to a month, 6 weeks or so, helping to train it, helping to guide it, etc. And we really appreciate those individuals being a part of this process. All right, how are we coming along in terms of answers there? Are we about to give an answer? If we can't, I will have to start singing the Jeopardy song, and I don't think you want me to do that. So
the votes are coming in. We're about ready to close the poll.
Very good. All right, thank you very much. And let's see. Here we go. All right. So 13% have already been using an AI scribe. And wow, 74% have not used it and are really interested in trying it. And also 6% don't plan to use it. So we appreciate that feedback. So very good. Let's move on to the next slide. Thank you for your input. And we're going to have Dr. Rich Szabo and Pamela give us a demo.
All right, so Dr. Szabo, I've given you all the power and all the land to be the presenter.
Thank you very much, Pamela. All right, let me pull up my screen. We should all be seeing basically the AI Scribe landing page.
Yep, I can see your screen, Dr. Szabo. You're ready to go.
Wonderful. So we're going to do a little drive-by first of the site, and then we're going to do an encounter visit, and then show you how it integrates into OP and how you'll be using it at the beginning. So when you first register, you'll be asked several questions, and those questions are going to relate to how you like your note to be styled. So there are 3 different note templates within OPI AI. We have our OP sick visit, our OP well visit, and a SOAP note. And so you'll choose whether you want for the HPI or the subjective part of a SOAP note to have it be prose, a continuous narrative, bulleted, or problem focused. And then for the assessment style, whether you want that to be problem focused or narrative. And you can change these at any time afterwards. You'll see here that there is a button for include ICD-10 codes in notes. This by default is turned off. As we do our demo, you will see that it will provide you coding suggestions, and ultimately it will be up for the provider to review and decide what is applicable to that visit. And you also see down here at the bottom we have a button for multilingual audio. We will be starting out with English and Spanish, and then afterwards we are adding 8 additional languages at a time frame still to be determined. So that is your initial setup. And you have, excuse me, let me go to Template Studio, 3 types of templates. Our sick visit, which is laid out the way it comes in OPI AI to reflect those typical headers that we see in an encounter note. Similar for a well visit. And then you also have a standard SOAP format for anyone who would like to use that. But you'll be working mostly out of the AI Scribe page here. So let's pull up our page here, and you can see these are my notes. Today I've done none so far, but I can change to yesterday, to last week. I'm going to pull up all time here quickly. And the caveat for all time is that all time in OPI AI means 21 days. After 21 days, the audio transcript is deleted completely. And after 21 days, patient information is de-identified from the encounter note. The encounter note itself has all identifying information removed from it, and it is removed from the UI. So the user interface will just show you a list of the number of notes you've completed, and that is more for tracking and reporting purposes. So that is a 21-day time frame as far as all time. You have the ability to collapse your sidebar, You can move things to make more view based on what you want as far as screen real estate. You can hide the transcript. You can show a list view. You can go back and change to a calendar view. So there's a fair amount of customizability. You can save views as custom views as well. So we have today a special guest who has brought her child in for a sick visit, and so we're going to run through a sick visit. So we would start by adding encounter. You will be asked to confirm your note template. You can change the template here if you want to, and you will also be asked to choose the level of detail in your note. And these are self-explanatory: a comprehensive note, balanced, or concise, straight to the point. We'll start with a balanced note, and we will show you ways that you can change and edit after the note is done. So we will go ahead and click Start a Visit, and we're going to go ahead and start our recording. So we have Miss Tammy in. Hi, Miss Tammy. It's nice to see you today. Before we get started with today's visit, I wanted to let you know that I'm now using an AI assistant tool called Opie AI to help me with my documentation. Opie AI will be listening to our conversation, and it's going to help me generate a note. This will allow for more talking and less typing, so we have a more personal visit. Is that okay with you?
Sure, that would be fine.
Great. I see that you brought your daughter in today for a fever. Is that right?
Yeah, she's been running one on and off for 3 days.
She's 18 months old now.
Yes.
Okay. So how high has that fever gotten up to in those 3 days, and have you given her any medicine for it?
Well, the highest I checked was 102.5. I gave her Tylenol a couple times, which has helped.
Okay. Tell me what else has been going on with her.
So she's not sleeping well. She seems to be fussier when she's eating or drinking, and she's not eating quite as much. She has a runny nose and a little bit of a cough.
Okay. Any vomiting or diarrhea for her?
No.
And do you think she's still wetting her diapers like she normally does?
Yes, thankfully.
Okay. I see that she's had a couple of ear infections before, but it looks like she has been healthy for the past 6 months. Is anyone else at home sick right now, or is there anything else concerning you?
No, again, thankfully, no one is sick right now. I'm mostly concerned she may have another infection going on, ear infection specifically going on.
Okay, well, let's take a look at her. I see that she does have a fever of 101 here, and she has been a little fussy while we've been talking, but I noticed that she is consolable and she has been crying tears. Okay, the left ear looks fine to me. The right eardrum is red and bulging, and I do see some cloudy fluid there. She has a little bit of a clear runny nose. Her throat looks fine. Her lungs sound clear and heart sounds normal. Belly feels fine, and I don't see any rashes on her. So it looks like she does have an ear infection in that right ear. Now, it's been a while since she's had to be on any antibiotics. She still doesn't have any allergies, right?
Right, no allergies.
Okay, so let's give her high-dose amoxicillin twice a day for 10 days. Based on her weight, she's going to get 10 mLs each dose. I'll send that prescription off in just a minute. I want you to treat her fever with Tylenol or Motrin if needed. Make sure that she's drinking well. If she's still running a fever after 3 days of amoxicillin, I want you to call the office. Also, since this is her third infection, let's just go ahead and plan on bringing her back in 2 weeks for an ear recheck to make sure that everything has resolved. And with that, we're going to generate our note, which does take a little bit of time. It's pretty quick, but it does take a little bit of time. And then you will see that we will also show some ICD-10 codes and a CPT code. We'll just give this a minute to run. Thank you, Miss Tammy.
You're welcome, Dr. Szabo. Hey, Dr. Szabo, is there any way you can turn your volume up just a bit? I know you've had a problem with it going back down.
Sure.
Oh,
Is that better?
that is.
Much
Thank you.
better?
That is
I
much
don't know
better.
why it keeps doing that, but okay.
Thank
So this is the note that OPI has generated. We've got our chief complaint, fever for 3 days. We've got our HPI. You can see persisting for 3 days, high temperature 102.5, gave some Tylenol with relief. We've got our associated symptoms, history of prior ear infections, healthy for the past 6 months. We've got our review of systems. We've got our narrative exam here with temperature. So left ear normal, right ear erythematous and bulging TM with fluid. The rest of the exam looks good. And our assessment is acute otitis media. And we also have our plan. When you have this note done, you can add to it if you want to. So if I want to put in no wheezing, can't type, I can do that. And before I show you options to change the format of the note, I want to show you how simple it is to get this into OP. So we're going to copy my HPI section. And I actually have an encounter note open here. So I've got an encounter for ear pain. And I can just right click and drop this in there, paste it. And we'll go back and we'll do this for the note. So we'll copy our section for ROS. Drop it into freeform. Copy our exam. We'll be dropping that into narrative exam. And so you can drop it into either general appearance or other. We'll drop that to general for now. Our assessment. This is lengthier because we did choose the balanced style. So, and at any point you can go in and remove things from the note here, or once you paste it into the appropriate section in your encounter, you can go in and make any changes you wanted to as well. And finally, we'll drop our plan. And you can see we have a summary. So HPI, ROS, exam findings, and assessment and plan. There are things that will still need to be done within OP, so you will still need to be sending prescriptions and such. The other option you have available is you can copy the entire note. So you can copy the entire note, and then you could go in and paste that entire note if you wanted to into a section like the HPI, knowing that you would have to go in and break down that copy and move it from OP into its applicable sections. But it's pretty straightforward to copy and paste, and the note itself within OPI AI makes it break down very easy for you. If you wanted to, you are able to go in and you could change the template. What we're going to do here is you could add additional instructions. So you could say, always say pyrexia instead of fever, and it would use that as far as making a change to the note, and it would learn from you moving forward. We'll also just quickly change to concise and regenerate our notes. Now, the no wheezing that I put in there will be lost since I'm changing to a different note type, but just to show you, a concise note really is the assessment and plan is the biggest difference. Okay. All right, you will see that we do have some suggested codes. This is based on what OPI AI heard in that transcription. So we have our acute right otitis media. It also picked up fever. Because Mom mentioned that there was a cough, it did drop a cough in. So this is up to you to review. Additionally, it will make a suggestion for CPT as well. And so you can see that this, because we're doing a prescription, does drop to what would appropriately be a 99214. And that is OPI AI's landing page in a nutshell. You'll be living on the Scribe tab for your encounters. It's very flexible. It's customizable. It will learn from you. So with that, I'm going to pass
Dr.
the
Zabo,
screen.
really quickly, before you exit out of here, can you just show really quickly how you rate and give feedback on a note?
Oh, I am so sorry. Yes. So, and we do want this. So at the end of your encounter, you are able to rate the note based on how well you think it captured what you expected. So we will give this a 5, and we do see this feedback, and this is used to kind of train further as well. And if I needed to, I can write other comments in here. I can make suggestions in there, and that gets passed on to the entire team. So with that, I will pass the screen back over to you, Pamela. Here you are.
Okay, and let me show my screen. Now I'll let you do the demo recap.
Just really to recap, you can see that OP is pediatric focused, and these narrative results are really very straightforward and easy to copy and paste into OP. So that is a time saver. Again, that pajama time we want to minimize as much as we can. And while it is going to start as a standalone copy and paste scribe, we are planning the ability for it to grow much more advanced and integrated, as Dr. Fighton had mentioned. It's going to be learning through you. So it's going to be learning through our extensive pediatric historical data, and then that ongoing community input, your use, your rating, your suggestions. And it is going to become the most pediatric-specific AI that is out there on the market.
Thank you so much, Dr. Szabo.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everyone. I see a lot of questions coming in about when's it going to be integrated? I thought it was going to be integrated. So let me just kind of let the suspense be done and share with you guys some more details around timing. So there will be a phased approach. We did not want to wait until we had an integrated solution. We wanted to go ahead and get this available to you and go ahead and let you start training the product. So I want to let you know that there is a method to our madness. So for the standalone version that will be available first, that's what I'm going to talk to you about first, the benefits of the first iteration. So one of the benefits is customizability. As Dr. Szabo just showed you, you will have the option of prose versus bullet points versus problem focused in each one of the sections. You also have dot phrases. That's something that we did not demo today, but dot phrases are very similar to phrase construction in OP, where you can build a phrase to be able to drop in a section of information. It'll be pediatric and OP specific. Templates are formatted to match the OP, sick, well visits, and SOAP notes in addition to that. Okay, we will utilize pediatric focused terminology. The AI is modeled after OP framework and templates that'll be refined over time. It will offer you time savings. There'll be accurate capture of both sides of the conversation with no effort from you. Okay, no additional buttons to click or anything like that after the notice or the transcription is started. The conversion of data into medical or lay terminology as is appropriate for the different sections within the note. So you'll see that that'll be of great benefit to you. We want to talk about trust and safety. It is HIPAA and SOC 2 Type 2 compliant on both sides, both on the OPI AI side and on the OP side. So they'll be assuring the highest security and privacy standards. Encrypted communications and industry-leading de-identification technology and third-party penetration testing to ensure proactive addressing of any potential security vulnerabilities. So that's extremely important to us, and we'll talk about that again in just a moment. Coding assistance. So you guys saw the coding assistance. So you had suggestions on ICD-10 and on coding. Magic Edit allows the user to select comprehensive, balanced, or concise note formatting on a specific visit. So you can have your default and then you can change it on a specific visit. And you can also change the type of note on a specific visit after the note has been created. Okay. And then also this is going to increase the provider, the patient, and the parent satisfaction. So you'll have decreased typing and more face time with the patient and parents, so equaling happier parents and patients, less screen time, and the option to get home earlier, or if you wanted to have more visits, you could opt to do that. It's going to help you with the staffing shortage. You all know that we have a national staffing shortage, so this will help you with that, improve staff morale, and decrease your provider cognitive load and burnout. So those are some of the things that you're going to be able to see right out of the gate. So we have a poll question for you, another one. So what would keep you from using AI technology? So the few of you that said that you weren't really sure. So A is that you don't have any concerns. You'll see the poll popping up now. B is I'm already efficient enough with OP. C is I have concern. Oh, and on this one, sorry, I want to stop real quick. This is multiple choice. You can choose more than one of these. C is I have concerns about liability. D is I don't trust AI. And E is I have privacy concerns. So I did want to share something with you really quickly. So unlike most of you, I live a part of my life in the regulatory world. And last month I had an opportunity to attend the HIMSS conference. And I was able to spend a little bit of time with some congressional staffers. And they had a very interesting thing that they said, and I quote, "No one in Congress even knows what AI is." And we found out at that point in time that there is zero regulation or legislation at the federal level around healthcare related AI. So I found that very interesting. And I wanted to say that to all of you, just to let you know that there are not any guidelines at that level. However, as I just shared with you, OP and Inside Health are doing the very best, the very top of the line compliance around HIPAA, SOC 2, Type 2. So even though there may not be any regulations at the federal level, we are doing the very best that is out there. I also want to note that there are some regulations at the state level that you may want to, that you do want to make sure that you're aware of. And a lot of those are around consent, around recording others whenever with having their consent. All right, looks like our poll is wrapping up. So let's see here. So it looks like most people don't have any concerns, which is fantastic. So right after that, it's people have concerns around liability. So I totally understand that. And that's something that I would say you want to address by looking at your state guidelines. Also talk to your legal team and some others to look and see what potential liability that you want to make sure you're covered with. So yeah, I think that's really great. So I like that some people feel they're already efficient enough with OP. That makes me feel good, and some privacy concerns. All right, wonderful. Well, thank you all for participating in that poll. I'm going to move forward here. And so the next thing I have here, this is more for reference for you later, but I wanted to kind of show you all how we're going to be progressing. And I'm going to speak to this a little bit more in a following slide. But to start with, we have our standalone version. There's going to be a free version where you can use up to 10 notes per month. And then there'll be a paid standalone version, which we'll talk about pricing in just a few moments, where you'll be able to have unlimited notes per month. And these are some of the things that you will have as part of that first rollout, the first standalone. Then we'll get into our integrated version, and I will be talking to you about the timeline in just a moment, so don't worry. And then we will have our final, I say final, but our last iteration will be enhanced version that we have planned right now. And we'll be having some, you'll see each step of the way, we'll be adding more and more functionality. So integrated, we're looking at having Q4 2025, so toward the end of this year. And then 2026 is when we'll have our enhanced version. We don't have a more definitive date on that one right now. So let's talk in a little more detail about what that roadmap looks like. So now I went through some of the functionality in the standalone. So it's going to be pediatric focused. You'll have magic edit. You'll have basically the functionality that Dr. Szabo showed you all a few moments ago with the coding suggestions. You will also have a section to do pre-chart documentation. So your medical assistant, those staff members will be able to also take advantage of it. So you'll get the advantage of the pre-chart documentation. You'll also be able to create a document so that post-visit documentation to be able to send a document home with your patients. It will be copy and paste. You'll be able to do training. So as you go training, you'll have some flexibility in the format, dot phrase customization, and we'll have Spanish support out of the gate, adding, as Dr. Szabo said, up to 8 additional languages. This on behalf of, no one has spoken to you about yet. This is going to be coming soon. So your staff will be able to document on behalf of you. And as soon as we have that functionality available, we'll be demoing that for you. What'll be coming next is the integrated version. It'll have all functionality to standalone. It'll be integrated into OP, so no more copy. It'll be single sign-on, so you won't have to go to a website and sign on. You'll be able to launch it from within OP. there'll be targeted discrete data that will be populated. So what that means is discrete data going into the HPI. So someone asked on the questions about won't it populate my templates? Some sections will start to populate into the templates, yes. So bidirectional data exchange. So your patient information and your provider going up to AI and information coming back down from OPI AI into your into OP. Self-management of users, so you'll be able to create your own users instead of OP having to create those users for you. And then we'll have more multi-language support. In the enhanced version, all functionality and standalone and integrated, you'll be able to create your own templates. You'll be able to exchange templates within the OP community. You'll have clinical prompts, which kind of ties into the clinical decision support. So we'll be able to suggest things to you. So based on clinical guidelines and much, much more. So we're continuing to plan more and more what's going to be in that enhanced version. And a lot of that is going to be based on your feedback as you start to use the product. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Dan to talk about some AI Scribe studies so he can share some of that with you. So Dr. Dan, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Pamela. Yeah, I just want to let you know that right now there are no significant studies on pediatrics with AI Scribe. There are a number of primary care studies which have mostly used family practice and some pediatrics. And so clearly we need more studies in that realm. But if we take the studies as a whole, you can see that there are some common themes throughout them. And I'm just going to point out some of them. At the University of Pennsylvania, they were able to show that pajama time was decreased by 30%. This was a study of primary care clinicians only. In that same study, just to the right of that, clinicians reported that they had a significant decreased feeling of burnout. 60% of them reported a reduction in burnout feelings. In the lower left, Kaiser Permanente of California, which has the largest study of AI Scribe right now, they were able to identify that 84% of their clinicians thought that it had a very positive impact. What's telling here is that in October of 23, they had 1,300 clinicians using their ambient AI Scribe, and within 14 months, it had risen to 7,300 clinicians. That is remarkable. And they are seeing significant improvement and overall return of joy to practice setting because of what the AI Scribe is providing. People often ask me, well, how much will it cut back in terms of the time I spend per appointment? And those studies have been variable. And I think you can understand that it depends on whether or not you're doing a mental health appointment versus a quick ear recheck, whether it's a well visit or not. But generally speaking, the studies show that you get about a 2-minute to 5-minute reduction in EHR time per appointment. Hopefully we'll have more pediatric studies, and hopefully we'll be able to study this with OPI AI to really be able to report on what the true benefits are. As you can see on the right-hand side, Dr. Jeff Cooper, who's a member of our advisory board, and I think you know him, he commented, he initially went in saying, look, I use OP, I can get through it, the templates are fantastic, I don't really need this. But after using it for a while, he said that I had no idea that OPI AI was capable of this much. I'm impressed already. So I think that the studies are encouraging. I would like to see more pediatric studies, and hopefully we'll get to that point. Next slide.
Thank you, Dr. Dan and Pamela. This has been certainly very exciting for us to be able to launch this today. And so I want to talk about availability and what the pricing looks like. So today, our initial launch of this through May 9th, we're actually offering an unlimited free opportunity to our Engage registered providers, as well as the first 50 providers who aren't going to Engage or aren't registered yet, to be able to have access to that. So it's an exclusive pre-release, you might call it, which is unlimited use of everything that's available today. So we're excited to be able to offer that to all of our engaged providers in the first 50 to sign up. After that, beginning on Monday, May 12th, the standalone version will be available to all of our providers, so everyone in the OP community base. And you'll have an option then to either be able to continue to use it for 10 free visits per month. There are no restrictions to the functionality within that. It's 10 free visits, and those are AI visits. So when we talk about visits in this context, it's not the total visits that you see in your practice of all of your patients. It's the ones that you're actually using AI for. For unlimited use, I'm sure everyone's interested in the pricing. For unlimited use, that will be $89 per provider per month for a full-time provider, and a part-time provider will be $69 per month, and that will be for less than 100 AI visits per month. So again, if you're seeing 300 patients, but you're using it for only 70, then that would be considered part-time for the AR licensing. Later in the year, when we release the integrated version, that will have a lot of additional benefits that will go with that. You'll still be able to continue to use the 10 free visits, 10 free AI visits, even with that version. So we will not limit the functionality at that point. But if you want to move to the unlimited version, then that will be $199 per provider per month. And again, at less than 100 visits, AI visits, that will be $139 per month. So that will be where it's pushing the information into the OP note for you. You won't have to copy and paste anymore. You'll be able to launch the AI from within the patient chart. You'll be able to do the single sign-on, as Pamela mentioned, and other enhancements that will continue throughout the year will also be rolled up into that. Next slide, please. So again, the promotion is for the first 50 providers who sign up who are not registered for Engage, and for all of our providers who are registered for Engage. If you've been on the fence or you have some providers who might be interested in still attending, you can register and sign up for that, and you will become immediately eligible for that by being an Engage registered provider. So you'll get it now for free through May 9th, unlimited use. You'll be the first to receive any enhancements as they come out throughout the year. You'll be able to give us that early stage feedback. So where Dr. Rich was showing the star rating and the ability to provide comments, you'll be able to get ahead of the pack in features and ideas and thoughts that you have about that. In addition to that, though, when we do release the integrated version, you'll be able to continue to use that for no additional charge beyond the unlimited charge that we talked about of $89 per month. You'll be able to continue to use that through the end of the year. So you will not have to pay the $199 integrated feature for the full-time provider. If you take advantage of this early promotion, you'll be able to continue to pay just the $89 or the $69 through the end of the year. Relative to what's happening at Engage with AI, we've got 2 general sessions called Surfing the AI Wave with OP. That will be one on Thursday and one on Friday. Of course, our product vision session will talk about AI in that. We'll also have 6 hours of AI SME hands-on availability in a workshop room that you'll be able to drop into and play around with it, ask questions of some of our experts that will be there, and just interact with it in general. Plus, we'll have a dedicated table in the exhibit area where you can talk with representatives from OP, representatives from Inside Health, and get additional questions answered and talk about what the future is and all things that are happening with OPI AI. So we're excited about that. Hopefully the ones who are already going to Engage will be able to take advantage of this, but certainly if you're on the fence and you want to sign up, we encourage you to go ahead and do that to be sure you can get your unlimited free use through May 9th right away. Next slide, please. So the nuts and bolts of what needs to be done. If you want to sign up for the promotion, or if you're one of those providers going to Engage, you can scan the QR code here. We're also going to drop the link into the webinar that's here with us. May have already been dropped. I have my screen hidden. We're also going to be sending out a follow-up email after this with a recording of the webinar, and any questions that we need to follow up on, but that will include the link as well. So you can use the QR code, follow the link in the chat, or we'll be sending it out to you as well. You'll need to register there in order to sign up to be able to get access to it. You'll receive an email from us within 24 hours with additional instructions of what's needed. We'll need your provider's name, their email address, and their credential, their specific credential. And again, it's the first 50 who sign up plus anyone who's attending Engage. After May 12th, any of our providers will be able to get access to this, as we talked about. And so the special promotion period will end at the end of May 9th, and then we'll turn it on for everybody. If you have additional questions and you want to get more information immediately, you can certainly ask them here after we wrap up with the slides. We'll have a question and answer, but you can also send an email to solutions@officepracticum.com, which will get you to our account managers and customer success team, and we'll be able to follow up with you with additional specific questions from there as well. And with that, just one more plug for Engage for anyone who's, next slide, please. One more plug for Engage. It's May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. This is the boot camp on April 30th. We've got a strong attendance again this year. Lots of great content that's available. But if you want to make sure that you're able to get into the unlimited use, you want to be attending Engage, and you'll be able to get to that right away. So with that, we're wrapping up just about where we want to be on time so that we can move into a question and answer session. And I think I'm turning that over to Gretch.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions, so I will assign them to the panelists. Jamal, this one is for you. How long and specific must the provider train OPI in order to personalize it to a practice's preference?
Yeah, thanks for that question. In general, as Dr. Sabo highlighted earlier, it's built on the foundation that OPI has already. As you're editing the notes within the product, within OPI, it actually learns over time. So that typically takes between 3 to 4 weeks to really get a sense for the edits and the types of things that you're updating. Now, the feature that Pam highlighted in terms of rating the note, that's a way to shortcut that and actually shorten it to a couple of weeks. And over time, it'll continue to improve even thereafter, but that's typically the time frame.
Great, thank you. Next question, Pamela, I'll ask you around workflow. So there's quite a few questions around prior to the patient coming in and how a nurse could possibly use OPI, and then what needs to be in the room in order for OPI to work. So around the microphone, essentially, and what kind of devices.
Sure. Okay. Sorry, I was saying that I was muted and not muted, so I want to make sure you can hear me. Yes, a nurse can use the pre-chart tab and can go in and add information. So the nursing staff can utilize that and can go in and transcribe information there. Now, I will say that part of our very first launch that we're doing today, probably through Engage, we're not going to be signing up nursing staff. We want the providers to go in and start using the product first before we start adding in additional staff. But yeah, absolutely, that's something that we would encourage as a long-term strategy for you to incorporate in your other staff. As far as what you need in the room, you need a device that has a microphone on it. So you can. I saw one question about, can you use your phone? Yes. So anything that can connect to the internet that has a microphone on it. So you could use your phone to launch the URL, and you could launch the visit from there. You can use a laptop that has a speaker, a microphone on it. You could use a desktop as long as you had a microphone on it, and you can connect to the internet. So that's pretty much what you could use. iPad, anything like that. So, and Jamal,
okay.
Saran, correct me if I'm wrong in anything I'm saying there technically.
So a couple other questions around workflow, and Jamal, you can stay up for this one also, around the ambient noise in the room. So a lot of parents will be bringing in multiple kids, and so crying kids, screaming kids, etc. Possibly other parents on their cell phone while the visit is going on. Can you speak to how the scribe works with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in general, it is trained to lock into what is medically relevant in the conversation. If there's multiple people in the room, for example, if you have one, for example, that is the parent or guardian, and then the child is old enough to speak for themselves, it'll actually separate that out. And then going beyond that, if folks are talking about stuff that isn't medically relevant, it's intelligent enough to cut that out of the final note and exclude that from what it's generating. In terms of crying babies and things like that, that's a non-issue.
Great, thank you. Also, Jamal, I'll have you answer this. I believe you've got some intimate knowledge around our templates. So a question, if one of our providers is already using one of our templates, like the otitis media template, how will it import, when we get the integrated version, that information into the template?
I'm actually going to pass this one to Saran,
Okay.
one of our co-founders and CTO, if he's able to jump in.
Hey everyone. So yeah, in the integrated version, what we do is on one-time updates of importing all the OP's templates into Insight Health. And when you launch in the integrated version, when you launch the OP product from OP, then depending on what template we choose, we automatically transfer into Insight Health. So we won't need to be selecting based on the visit on what template you need to choose, but based on the visit and what you already selected in Office Practicum, it will automatically populate in Insight Health.
Great, thanks. So essentially, it'll be an automated workflow where those sections just flow into any of the templates that are selected. Great. There were a couple other questions about templates. I think we'll get to that a little bit later. Now some questions around probably the more advanced functionality. So Dr. Dan, one of the questions was around if the practitioner just prescribes a high dose of amoxicillin, is OP smart enough to calculate the dose and then send it to the pharmacy?
Not at this time. For either calculating the dose or sending it to the pharmacy. We certainly will be able to help calculate that dose with a pediatric calculator, just like we have in OT. Sending it to the pharmacy will be a little bit more complicated, and I don't see that coming out by the end of the year. It will be in the enhanced version.
Okay.
And I think that speaks also to the understanding that there still will be work that the provider will need to do within OP at the context of a visit, like marking a lab test complete, like reviewing the survey, like choosing the pharmacy and sending the prescription right now.
Yeah.
Great. You read my mind, Dr. Zeba. I was going to ask about that specifically. There was a question around how to use it with the labs. What about the coding section? And to know that there's certain codes that they cannot be used together. So excludes codes.
It is not to that point for the coding. It has good coding capability, but we are going to be continuing to track and look at the accuracy of all of that, because as the individual mentioned, there are specific rules, guidelines for specific codes, certain codes you don't want to use, and we have not been able to look into that at this point.
Okay, here's a higher level question around the basic technology with OP. So one of the questions was, what's the difference between using ChatGPT and OP? I think that'd be a good question for everybody to hear, or the answer, excuse me. So Jamal, I don't know, you or Saran want to take that?
Yeah, I can start, and then I'll pass it back to Saran to add color. ChatGPT has certainly changed the world and its ability to very quickly generate very creative responses. One of the challenges with taking that and applying it to healthcare is certainly the trust and safety, ensuring that patient data is secure. In addition, it's just the accuracy and reliability. Given the creative nature of it, there's quite a bit of variability in terms of what gets generated. And that's why when we set out to build OP, one of the big things is taking an AI model and training it specifically for a medical application and ensuring that it stays on the rails. Things like, you may have heard of a concept called hallucination, which is common with ChatGPT and Claude and various other publicly available products. So a lot of what's built is the guardrails to ensure that that doesn't happen. The second is in terms of ensuring that patient data is secure, ensuring that privacy of the patients and of course the providers and the conversations are all maintained to ensure that when you're using the product, you can rest assured that it stays within the four walls of the platform, and things like training on patient data or anything like that is not possible. Maybe I'll check in with Saran to see if he has anything else to add.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are in ChatGPT is like one AI model which does like one specific purpose, and Jamal mentioned there is a lot of hallucination involved because they are not medically trained. But in a product like OP, there are multiple AI models involved because it's transcribing your conversation into a medically relevant conversation. It's also doing summarization. It's also taking care of the ICD-10 codes. There are multiple things that are involved and brings together, and multiple AI models are involved in making this product to be useful for the clinicians. Whereas in ChatGPT, it's a general purpose, singular, like a Google search, and it can give any information it wants, and which are not medically relevant or not medically accurate. That's the main difference between using something like ChatGPT versus using something like OP.
I would also add to that that when I was fortunate to be in a number of cases as a medical expert and being part of lawsuits that involved pediatricians, the most common question was always, Dr. Clayton, did this doctor practice the standard of care? What I'm excited about is that with OPI AI Scribe and OPI AI Assistant, we are essentially creating a standard of care. As clinicians work with it together, etc., it demonstrates a standard. If you're just using something that is completely standalone, just using ChatGPT, etc., you will not have that benefit of being able to say in court, hey, we actually are training this with a large group of pediatricians. And I think that that will be not only beneficial, but it will also down the road serve as a very good training resource for us to see how other doctors are answering specific symptoms, questions, etc.
Dr. Szabo, I'm going to make you think off the cuff here. One of the questions is around workflow when the parents are bringing in possibly more than one child for a visit, so a stacked visit. How would you recommend that the provider use the scribe when they have one visit after the other?
I think one visit after the other, they certainly want to focus as far as the transcripts or the add encounter on one child. They can immediately go to add another encounter, and they can go back and forth and then transfer that stuff into the OP note pre-integration. But I don't think that they would want to collect the information related to both children, speak the exam of both children in the same encounter. So they will want to stop the encounter, start a new one, but it's very easy to jump back and forth based on your, based on the notes.
Great, thank you. Keep getting more and more questions coming in. It's great. Pamela, question for you. If you could possibly go back over some of the features of the integrated version and how you think that we will be releasing those at a high level.
Yeah, so obviously the big bang of the integrated version is that there's no more copy and paste. So information will flow bidirectionally, meaning that your provider and patient information will flow from OP up to OPI AI, and your transcription information will flow from OPI AI back into OP. So it'll create your visit note back in OP. In addition to that, it'll be single sign-on, or SSO, for those of you that are familiar, so you don't have to go to another place and sign on to something. So you'll be able to launch it directly from within OP. Some of the information that will come back in from OPI AI will be discrete data, meaning that it will be information that will be searchable or discrete data for reporting purposes, et cetera, instead of being what we call a text blob, which is just a bunch of information that you can't repurpose for anything else. So what you are bringing in now, that copy and paste data, those are text blobs. So when we have discrete data, then we can do things like put it into templates or fill in your vitals information, things like that. So we would be slowly adding in. So the integrated version is not going to necessarily be a big bang. We'll be slowly releasing those pieces for the integrated version until we get to the full integrated version toward the end of this year. Maybe a little bit into 2026, but we are trying to get it all by the end of this year. So maybe the first thing we'll be releasing would be, okay, your provider information goes from OP, and I'm making up the order of things, so no one hold me to this, but maybe the first thing would be your provider information goes from OP into OPI AI. Then we have single sign-on, then we have the patient's information going up, and then we have, so we would do it one piece at a time because we want you to get it as we have it available. So those are some of the things that are going to be available. And then, like I said, we'll have multi-language support. So we'll release Spanish first, and then we'll be getting feedback from you on which language is the next one that you would find most valuable, and then release those in the order in which you give us feedback. So those are probably some of the bigger things. Gretch, did I miss one that you have in mind?
Nope, I just think it's good to go over that. There were some different questions around some of the functionality, and some of the functionality that folks are asking for are things that will probably come in a later version, so different enhancements around that.
Yeah, and I did want to make one comment about the Spanish. So everything will be translated back into English in your transcription when it builds out the note. And I had a question about, I'm a Spanish speaking provider. Will it translate for me as well? Yes, it will translate for the provider and for the patient. So, so if you're speaking to the patient in Spanish, then it will translate for both of you. However, don't rely on that transcription to be the translation for you to be able to speak to that patient. You still need to understand what that patient is saying to communicate with them. So I just wanted to make that little caveat.
Great. I think the other thing, based on some of the questions, so this is per provider also. So in a group practice, you might have, 10 providers. Some don't want it at all. That's fine. Some might just want the free, and some might want the integrated. And so they can all sign up however they would like to. Do we have time for one more question?
Yes, I think so. And those of you that are still on the call, please don't drop, because we do have a poll for you at the very end.
Okay, I think we'll end with this question then, which I think we've answered a little bit, but again, Jamal, maybe you can take this. Given the nature of the AI learning model and that it's learning from a group of providers, how can you ensure that the information it's learning from will remain accurate and up to date?
Yeah, it's a great question. So what we're learning is specific to that provider. So there is a baseline that's trained and built around the foundational pieces, that is pediatric care and the standard of care that Dr. Feiton mentioned earlier. The aspects that we end up fine-tuning are specific changes that provider might make to the note, usually things like formatting or nomenclature. I think using the medical term versus using just saying a fever, for example, that was one of the examples that Dr. Sabo had highlighted earlier. It's stylistic changes. In terms of the fundamental accuracy and ability for the model to generate a valuable note, we're not changing the fundamental part of that. We're just tweaking it in a way to make it more applicable to your particular practice, to match your style, your formatting, so that it aligns to what you've been doing for the years prior.
Great.
All right. With that, I'm going to pull up the poll. I would like to ask everyone to please fill out the, oh, sorry, Joyce, are you going to pull up the survey?
Yeah, so Pamela, when they close out of the meeting, the survey will pop up, and we would love to get their feedback on today's webinar, as well as some questions we have around their use of AI in the future. So please make sure you fill out the survey when this closes.
Thank you so much, Joyce, and thank you so much, everyone, for your participation today. And I want to let you all know that you have crushed the goal. I'm sorry, the max number of attendees. So you all rock. Thank you so much. Crushed Matt Tadros's current record. I appreciate that all very much. And you all have a great day, and we look forward to you all participating in new OPI AI, and look forward to seeing you all at Engage. Thanks, everyone.